What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to take a quick look at First Descendant. Game just dropped today. You can play it for free on Steam. It's an Unreal Engine 5 looter shooter type of game with online gameplay. So I decided to check it out on my RTX 4090 Ryzen 7800 X3D on my ultra wide display. So let's take a look at it. We'll check out how the game looks, how it runs. We'll check out some DLSS, the upscaling things, some frame generation, because yes, there is frame generation. There's FSR, XeSS, and all the stuff that should be in a PC game. Anyway, let's jump into the game and check it out. Ouch! I've already went through the tutorial and picked up my main rating mission, so that's what we're going to take a look at. We're going to use my 3440 by 1440 display. I've maxed out the ray tracing to Ultra, NVIDIA DLAA, and all the other settings are maxed out with motion blur disabled. Okay then, we're going to make our way to the dungeon's entrance so then we can queue up a party. But before we do that, maybe we'll give this guy a quick little hand. But looking at our performance here, we seem to be hovering around 60 FPS with mid-40s, 1% lows, which is actually pretty good if it stays consistently that way. Now, as far as stutters, from what I've played, it's actually not bad. There is some traversal, typical Unreal Engine 5 stutters here and there that I've tested. It does happen in the same spots, but for the most part, it's okay. However, the ray tracing aspect of it will add more of a load to the CPU, which is not really a revelation. This is a well-known thing, but we're going to try disabling ray tracing as well and see how that affects things overall. So let's go ahead and try disabling it. See how much of a difference it makes visually anyway. So there we go. Okay, so it definitely does make a difference. It does make a bit of a difference. Although the textures seem to not have loaded in properly. We did jump about 45% in performance. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, it looks like there's missing textures, or is it me? Let's go ahead and turn ray tracing on again. That is really weird. I can't say that I've experienced this before. Yeah, look at that. Turning ray tracing on Ultra makes the grass reappear again. Wow. That just doesn't make sense now, does it? That's not what ray tracing is supposed to do. Well, it's clearly a bug, so let's disable it and I'll reload the game. Okay, so we launched back into the world with ray tracing disabled, NVIDIA DLAA on still, and we have the grass back. Let's see what we get for performance. Okay, so we're up in the 80s from the mid to low 60s that we were at previously. So not only that, but the frame time looks a bit smoother as well. Let's make our way to the dungeon, find a couple people, and complete this mission. And then we'll check out some DLSS as well. There's quite a lot of people playing today. The game just launched. All right, here we go. And we got a couple people in already. It looks like quite the crew here. We have someone on an Xbox, another PC player, and a PlayStation player. Wow, interesting. These different groups of people tend to fight a lot on Twitter. Looking at our performance after being in this dungeon for a little while and fighting, we seem to be doing pretty well. We're at 100 FPS or so. Clearly we're getting a little bit higher FPS than we were in the open world because this is a smaller area. That makes sense. But I'd say the game feels pretty good to play. And having just briefly examined, we looked at ray tracing off and on. I can't say that I really noticed a meaningful difference visually. That I would say, as of right now, I would probably play the game with ray tracing disabled, even though you could turn on DLSS and probably reach the hundreds FPS, right? Right now, we're running with ray tracing off, but we're at native 3440 by 1440 with DLAA. We've been at it for about 6-7 minutes or so, and our 1% lows are at 65 still. That's actually pretty good. So, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and turn on some DLSS quality and see if we can bump that frame rate up a little bit more and maybe see if we hit a CPU bottleneck or something, because games these days are crazy CPU heavy for some reason. But as you can see here, we have all the upscalers. FSR, XeSS, and Epic's own TSR. So there we go. NVIDIA Quality, DLSS, we're at 120 FPS. And I died for some reason? Okay. I was just changing some settings. But anyway, yeah, we're at 120 FPS now. The game feels really, really nice to play. 1% lows are at 90 FPS. Oh, they just dropped a little because we hit a little bit of a stutter. Unreal Engine 5. But no, seriously though, it actually feels pretty good to play. GPU utilization is at 97%, 95%, so I don't know if we're reaching a CPU bottleneck here. Chances are that we probably are, because our 4090 is only pulling in 230 watts. That's not really normal. So I would say we've probably hit a CPU bottleneck here, you know, without diving into it too closely. So yeah, but 130 FPS feels really nice to play. The shooting feels very nice in this game. I don't know about the progression, how quickly it's going to get repetitive, but as of right now, I'm having a good time. Elite Storm Warrior. This must be the boss, probably. Yeah, it probably is. Guy's taking so many hits. It looks like everyone's playing a tank. I thought everyone would be playing the female character, just because she's kind of hot. Okay, so we got the boss. It looks like we're probably done. Yes, we are. All right, time to get the heck out of here. And I want to dive into frame generation a little bit as well, and we can examine that a bit closely. We'll check out DLSS frame generation and FSR frame generation, because why the heck not? Okay, so before we wrap things up, let's dive into a bit of frame generation. And I've changed the settings. I've put ray tracing back to ultra with NVIDIA DLAA, and we're hovering at around 60 FPS. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn frame generation on. We now have a base and see what type of performance we get. And look at, we're jumped all the way up to 100 FPS. That's actually pretty good. That's like a 60 to 70% increase in FPS. And let me grab my controller here just so that we can make some smooth motion here, just so I can get a feel for it. It actually feels pretty good. Yeah, it does. Yeah, not bad, actually. It does look like 100 FPS. Feels fine. I mean, feels like maybe 60 FPS. It's okay. It's good. It's a positive, I would say. Absolutely. So that's it, guys. We're getting 100 FPS with frame generation DLSS. The icons, the UI, looks pretty good. There's no garbling or anything like that. Yeah, very, very nice. Oh, we hit a little stutter. So that's a traversal stutter there. If you go there multiple times, it pretty much happens every time. This here is some 120 FPS footage that I captured for you guys, just so that we can kind of examine the DLSS 3 frame generation fluidity a little bit better. You do tend to get a bit of a hitch to the camera panning here and there, but it's not bad, really. I mean, when you're playing it, it does look like the game is running at 90 FPS. I mean, that's kind of the point, to get that better motion fluidity without loss to image quality, or minimal loss. And I would say for the most part, it does achieve that, except for that little tiny stutter that we hit there. But that's not the DLSS's fault. It's Tim Sweeney's fault. Now we're going to take a look at FSR frame generation, and we're getting 62 FPS. So if we go to the settings here, I've set it to AMD FSR Native AA. We have to use FSR in order to turn FSR frame generation. At least that's how I understand it. So here we go. Frame generation on. And we went from 60 FPS to 100 FPS. So it's actually very similar to DLSS. So I'm actually, I don't know if this is actually DLSS frame generation, to be honest. No, actually this one looks worse, because look at the icons. See how they jiggle around? It's almost like they're not being done properly. That is weird. Now, does that happen with DLSS frame generation? Well, let's find out, I guess. Let's go back to NVIDIA DLAA, and frame generation is stayed on, so No, that doesn't happen when you have NVIDIA DLAA on. Okay. Very confusing because it doesn't say whether it's FSR frame generation or if it's NVIDIA frame generation. I don't know. So here we go. AMD native AA frame generation is on. We know we get around 100 FPS, and there you go. You get that jiggling of the icons. But I mean, other than that, it does feel pretty fluid as well. The image looks pretty good with FSR Native AA and DLAA, I would say. So yeah, this one feels very good too. It looks fluid, except for those couple stutters there, which is not FSR's or DLSS's fault. But let's wrap up the video with a side-by-side 50% speed of both DLSS 3 and FSR3 frame generation. And I don't know, you guys can come up to your own conclusion. I would say they both look pretty good. And here we are, guys. DLSS frame generation on the left, FSR frame generation on the right. Both slowed down to 50%, captured at 120 FPS. And I don't know, I mean, looking at the both of them, they both look pretty much the same. I would pay closest attention to the legs. Those are the fastest moving objects, and that's where you tend to notice the most breakup if, you know, it was apparent and standing out. But I would say it's doing a pretty good job. Obviously, once you're playing the game at 100%, it looks fine. But that'll be it for this video, guys. If you did find this video informative or you liked it, please give it a like. It helps me out a ton. And if you do want to subscribe for more content like this, please feel free to do so. And I appreciate you watching either way. I'll see you next time. Peace.